Hello, welcome to Trump 47 Watch. Today's episode deals with furloughs, the distinction between essential and non-essential employees by agency, reductions in force during a shutdown, and the controversy over whether furloughed employees are automatically entitled to back pay. I'm Merrick Masters, Professor of Business Emeritus. You can find me at my YouTube channel. And today is October the 8th, 2025. The devil is in the detail on anything the federal government does that has an impact on personnel, and there are lots of details that can be confusing and that also can be subject to different interpretation. This is no exception. The topics that we'll talk about a little bit more in this brief episode deals with the number of furloughs that have occurred in the current shutdown, agency plans as they distinguish between essential and non-essential employees, the Office of Management and Budget guidelines on the use of reductions in force in shutdowns, which I think is somewhat of a negotiating leverage tactic that the Trump administration is using, as well as the controversy over the provision of back pay to furloughed employees. Furloughs and shutdowns. Each federal agency is required to have a plan to respond to a lapse in appropriation. These plans are often referred to as contingency plans or shutdown plans. It's more accurate, according to this article, explainer, on shutdowns, to say that a shutdown is really due to a lapse of funding is a temporary slowdown of non-essential government activities. The vast majority of the federal workforce is retained and continues to work even during a shutdown. During a lapse in appropriations, certain essential activities can be deemed excepted from a shutdown, and these workers can be called to work even though they may not be paid during the shutdown. A government function may be carried out in the absence of appropriations if it is expressly authorized or required by another law or court order necessary to execute other lawfully continuing functions, necessary to discharge the president's constitutional duties and powers, or addressing an imminent threat to the safety of human life or the protection of property. I might also note that certain employees that are called to work during a shutdown may be paid because of carryover funds available in the agency or appropriations that are not affected by the lapse in the appropriation that caused the shutdown of whatever scope it may be. According to the previous report on the previous slide, there is a breakdown that agencies have prepared of the distinction between essential and non-essential employees, with employees who are essential classified as financed by other annual appropriations, necessary for activities expressly authorized, necessary for activities implied by law, necessary for the president's constitutional duties, necessary to the protection of life and property. According to this breakdown across the various federal agencies, the total non-essential employees is about 620,000. The total essential employees is about 1.6 million. According to a study reported in the Government Executive, looking at just the large departments plus the White House, you can see the percentage that are being laid off during the current shutdown. At the Department of Commerce, it's 80.8%, labor at 75.7%, state at 61.7%, at the White House it's close to 61%. At transportation, it's 22.7%, justice, it's 11.2%, Homeland Security, 5.2%, the Veterans Administration, or Veteran Affairs Department, it's 4.2%, and Treasury, it's 2.2%. The number of furloughed employees is estimated to be slightly over 620,000. Reductions in force. Reductions in force may be in effect if a furlough lasts for more than 30 calendar days. Reductions in force may also be introduced during a shutdown, and the Office of Management and Budget, as we'll talk about in a second, has suggested that we should do that perhaps in the federal government during the shutdown. OMB's guidance on reductions in force says that with respect to simultaneous reductions in force in the process during a shutdown, some employees affected by the lapse in appropriations may have also received a notice of reduction in force with a future effective date in connection with possible October 1, 2025 lapse in appropriations. OMB has directed agencies to consider issuing RIF notices to all employees in programs, projects, and activities that satisfy the following conditions. 1, discretionary funding lapses. 2, another source of funding is not currently available. And 3, the programs, projects, and activities are not consistent with the president's priorities. This gives the administration considerable latitude to introduce RIFs during a shutdown period, and it appears to be threatening to do so at present as a leverage to get the Congress to end the shutdown. But that may change. In fact, I'm surprised they haven't begun instituting reductions in force already more aggressively than they had previously planned to do. A debate has arisen recently because of a White House Office of Management and Budget legal opinion about whether furloughed employees will get paid. Previously, under current practice, furloughed employees received back pay to cover them for the time on furlough during the shutdown. This was considered to be automatic. A new legal opinion from the U.S. Office of Personnel Management states that such back pay to furloughed employees will not be given unless explicitly specified in the appropriation laws which end the shutdown. A new draft of the opinion at OMB points to one specific phrase in the 2019 law, Government Employee Fair Treatment Act, which states that retroactive pay is subject to the enactment of Appropriations Act ending the lapse. Thus, if Congress does not specifically say that we were going to pay furloughed employees, those employees will not be paid. However, accepted employees who work during the shutdown period will be paid according to this interpretation. Stay tuned for more news on the shutdown and its implications as it continues. I'm Merrick Masters. You can find out a little bit about me at this slide. I look forward to talking with you in the near future.